Viewers and subscribers, welcome back to Beating the Press podcast. I am your host, Rafa. Now, this evening, we're here vibing with Jukie, football prodigy, Dakar Cup star, college star, and he's here to share his story. So, Jukie, welcome to the platform.
Blessing, thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. I'm blessed upon the viewers.
Well, big boss, we know you as Jukie, but what was your given name by your parents?
Our given name is Ryan Kenroy Goulbourne.
So, Jukie, normally we take it right back from the start, early life. Where were you born?
I was born in Black River Hospital, St. Elizabeth.
And you grew up in the same community as well?
Grew up just maybe 5 miles from there up the hill, Middle Quarters. Those who are familiar with St. Elizabeth, New Market, Middle Quarters, known for the shrimp area.
Yes.
Yeah, that's small little community. A lovely vibe, lovely presence of elders.
Any siblings?
I grew up with two elder sisters, but I have siblings on both sides. My parents were married for about 25 years, still strong. I have sisters on my mother's side and on my father's side. But I grew up in a household, just my mom, my dad, and my two sisters, which were I was the youngest. I was the baby.
So in terms of from a financial point of view, what was it like growing up from a financial point of view? Was it a struggle, or were you able, from a family point of view, coping, or what? What was the breakdown there?
I wouldn't call it struggle, but the regular country family, we live off what we provide. My parents, father, he was a farmer, but he did some janitorial work when I was younger. But his main gig was farming, planted peas. He sold it wholesale, and also he in like cakes and stuff like that. So I wouldn't say we were less than the average, but we were making it meet. And
Okay.
older sisters, I was the younger one. I a little bit, but my parents, we weren't from big families, so we were beginnings. I was the one who was and is tasked with changing that.
Yes, yeah, big shoes there, big responsibilities. But in terms of your early schooling now, Jukie, how did it all start for you in terms of early schooling?
Early schooling, I went to a all-age school. Some would know it as a primary. It went to grade 10. I passed grade 6. It was up in the hillside, not so much highlighted, but had some good teachers. So I had teachers who paid much attention to me. So when I got to grade 6, I passed GSAT and I was placed in a very, and so I got some help scholarship-wise in order for me to make it financially into Munro. Because growing up where I'm from, it's only the few made it to the doorsteps of Munro.
Oh, so you said you went to what, middle quarters?
Yeah, and then I moved to Middle Quarters for 3 years. Middle Quarters is where I did my so I went from Middle Quarters primary, changed years to junior high, and now it's a junior high because it goes. So that was my schooling basically. It wasn't any primary.
So when did football enter the picture for you though?
For me, competitively, football was
Well,
always
just football in general, whether recreationally or competitively, just playing as youngsters, so to speak.
football started for me from a tender age. As I can remember, 6-year-old as a youngster, I used to go to the white field and I used to go to the soccer field. Way before I could make a team, even in my primary quarters, I used to love soccer. So I used to be in the goal. The elders used to put me in the goal to study the game, watch the game from there because I wasn't the most talented on the feet, so to speak.
At that age?
At that age, it was just a love and the motivation. So, in the age, I would say at 6, 7, I was to the soccer field. Going there, my father would let me go there by myself and stuff. Once I was going to the soccer field, it was very close. So I would say soccer started for me. Football started at around age 7, around age 8. at that point, and then it grew. It started to grow on me. Grow. I started to love it more, and as soon as I do a bigger surrounded where I work on myself and work on the areas that I needed to sharpen up, I would say at grade 7, that's where football became
So that
serious
would be when you went into high school.
into high school.
Okay, and that was at Munro College, as you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell us about that. I mean, you said you started to take football competitively at grade 7. So what was that transition like from the primary level to the high school, and how was the football journey at that point in time?
I I would call it was surreal, I would say, because leaving from my small area where I am from, going into Munro College where it's a much more bigger, more civilized format of soccer, so to speak. It was really surreal is the only description I could find for it, because I've seen guys, even at my age, who are playing at a higher tempo and more experienced than me. So it was pretty surreal, and it was motivating at the same time, because I wanted to up my standards as well. But at that time, for me, it was a surprise, as I said. So and it was, I wouldn't say hard, but challenging to even put forward myself as a footballer.
Right, right. So
I
at
had
that point, your confidence as a footballer, so to speak, was still pretty low. You really didn't see yourself
was really
pursuing
tested.
that path, so to speak.
Yes, and it was tested at that point, 7th grade. At a young age, I didn't have much motivation to really say, hey, this is something that you could pursue to not only make your family or make yourself a better person, or to help yourself genuinely health wise. The confidence wasn't there and the motivation was there. So it was kind of surreal, and I would say kind of difficult
So,
to really
so, so Jukie, when did all that change to the point where, you was basically a starter on the Costa Cup team? When did it really come into fruition?
first it changed to being very promising. To be I saw around fourth farm. I have to pick up the coach as well, Coach Edwards, who is one of my biggest mentors and one of the person helped, as you say, change my view and even my confidence to a point where I say, hey, this is something that it doesn't matter where you're from or how you view yourself. You have a talent, and you have something that you could work on to put you in the big league, or even put you at a place where you're confident. So I would say the change started at about fourth farm. You grade fourth
So that
farm,
means at that stage you're around 16 years old.
16, just right there. Right there is when my whole confidence, my whole outlook on myself, it changed. The love for it is there and continually will be there. But there were points that I have to recognize, and I have to point it out. That coach, Coach Edwards, at the time, he was, I think, on his second year at my.
Right,
I could check those dates just to make it
right.
second year, and when that's when I started to put myself out there. When I decided, hey, I'm going to put myself out there. It doesn't matter what you get in return, because you're doing this for yourself and not for nobody else. I got a very good outlook, and I got a very good description, and I got a very good talk. And it was just one session I remember vividly. One session was it was a session that determined if you got called back for the summer to attend the summer.
Oh, so at that point you were in trials, Dakar Stock trials during the summer.
In trials, coming from some very, very, as I remember, under 14, under 16, I never played, and break my heart. It was very difficult to really put myself out there to get
Oh, so you tried out for both under 14 and under 16, but didn't make the grade.
4 years. 4 years, and it was either motivation or kill my career from that point. As a young coming from where I am, not and understand what soccer or football could do for me, like mentally, physically, even financially. It was really for me to even continue it and say, put myself up, go to a trials or even go play a soccer game to even get an invitation to a camp. And that boosted my confidence from a level where it was about to say call it in and go to tracks, try tracks.
Okay. So at fourth farm now, with that trial, you made the D Cup team.
I made the D Cup team with one I got when the coach, Mr. Edwards, said to me, this is the one reason I call you back is when you get the ball in the middle of the field, you have 4 options, and every opponent who is close to you have 3-4 seconds to get to you. That means your positioning is impeccable and you can work on it. And when you work on it, you can become somebody of a Busquets in the midfield if you really put in your work. And just that one conversation and that one invitation, it put a different confidence, started a different fire in Jukie back.
So, so you made the team at fourth farm.
At Fort Farm, I made the 26, the 27, the first
squad.
last cut, the last cut, the Dakar Cup team. It was that season. I didn't get any time. I wasn't even a part of the you would call it
The squad.
22 squad. You know, have 11v11 in. So I respected even that coach for even that opportunity, because he have to, that is even, I would give him kudos as a coach, because that is growing a player, and it ended up to be a very good gamble, because I can serve as a very, very good addition going on to farm, making it games, getting about 4-3 games. That's when I officially up on stage and everybody. But I had a previous conversation with the coach already. Started a fire inside of me that a lot of people see the product. I saw that, oh, Jukie made the team, but it was a very hard transition, or and I have to be appreciative for the fact that it started there for me. My confidence in what I was doing.
So that pretty much brings us up to fifth farm. So fifth farm, you're now in the squad. You got a few games. So talk to us now about the next phase. You know, what was it like now transitioning to sixth farm? You know,
the next phase for me now I remember, because it was like yesterday for me. I remember it because those feelings aren't feelings you forget. Feelings really is what you dig for in hard times, because it builds character. Back then, going into sixth farm, fifth farm, getting a couple of games, playing against, I remember playing with among Jordan Tap, who back then was, I would say, one of the best midfielders in the Costa Cup. Getting that opportunity, and that did surmountable, like it impacted my confidence to where I wasn't just thinking of making the team. I was thinking of pursuing captaincy, pursuing, a main role in sixth form, like starting, because as I say, I wasn't starting. I got a couple games, but I was like, form. Was going into sixth, how was that feeling? How was that for me? As I was saying,
yes.
get it, that so much for me. I was just looking forward to even more, even captaincy, vice captains. That's where my confidence was. What football could do for me, not only in sixth form. As a sixth former, you're thinking after sixth form, what can it do for me? So that's where my mindset was. Fast forward, just from a standpoint of somebody who didn't have that much confidence in himself, what 2 seasons or 1 season, or even just the school that I am going and the coaches and the players that I was around. Going into sixth form, confident, like, hey, and I will do something with. I will.
So what would you say would have been your most prominent season at the Costa Cup?
For me, it was the season, of course, when I scored down in the away game. That season was, I think, that was my last year in the Costa Cup. My last year in the Costa Cup when I got captaincy in about the first in for camp, for camp when we were
So
having
you
some.
were in upper six at that point.
I was in upper six.
Okay. And who was the coach? Who was your coach?
For it was Mr. Steve Cole. A shout out because that Mr. Cole was the coach for the session. We were having some coaches issue, but I remember kept team going to even practice matches. It was just a very good time for me, even upper six. August going into September before the season really and school really start back. And going into the season, I was feeling and I was like one of the main and vital parts of the team that made the team. Not because of what I contributed on the field, but even just what I was bringing from the previous team, a part of and what I had learned. It, it, it was something.
So in terms of the transition now after high school, what was the next step for you?
Next step for me was putting into play. Not firstly for me leaving I would say the last 6 months prior to leaving to high school. That was when it started to really, all those feelings of like it didn't wash back, but I needed strong will because I was thinking of soccer being one of the main things I was going to focus on, whether going to college or even focus on trying to get a team playing. Because one of the time I was even thinking about playing, trying out for a team in Jamaica, play for the Premier League
Right, right.
year off before I go to school. Because as I said, before I left high school, I was talking to a lot of schools. I sent a lot of emails. I was trying to hit up a lot of coaches, both overseas and down base. So it's like I tried to expand and try to benefit, like benefit off what I. I'm a
Okay.
minute brain, Mr. T.
So where did you end up transitioning to?
I transitioned to Iowa, Mount Mercy. That's a small school in Iowa. It's called Mount Mercy. It's a Catholic school in
Oh,
in in
so you
in.
picked up a football scholarship.
Yeah, it wasn't fully it was like 50% as football scholarship, percent a track and field scholarship. Because when I transferred there, it was more based of making the team before they implemented the soccer scholarship. So I had to put effort. Which way I got the track and field scholarship. There I have a lot of colleagues who went to that school even now. So to speak, Money Moody, I don't know if you remember.
Yes,
Also,
yes.
I don't know if you remember, Kingfish, his nickname. Yeah, he was going to that school. So there was a lot of Jamaicans there who were doing a lot of good things, both academic. So they had a program who were not had, they still have a program that they accepted students based off merits, based off you good academically, and then you could join the get benefits. So that's where I landed, which was such a blessing. And I have to give shout out to Roger Ati, Money Moody, all Munro past students who was there before me who made it possible.